Did you guys hear Mike The Mailman's new book is out?
I'm not here to promote the book. I'm here to do football. But thank you. Appreciate that.
How much is it?
This book here, 1968.
Rip off.
That's the year I started. Wait a minute, that's the year I started at the post office.
It's more of a pamphlet, if the viewers at home can see, but, you know.
Thank you for pointing that out to people.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
Mike.
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Mike, will you sign it for me?
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. I'll never have you sign this book. Ever.
Try.
Never. Never.
Grab your whiskey and your cyanide. It's the Obligatory PSU Pregame Show, special edition. Well, here we are. You, Mike the Mailman,
Yes,
would not have taken the bet that this idiotic show would last 10 years.
that's for sure.
You sure as hell wouldn't have taken the bet that it would outlast James Franklin.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And yet, here we are. We're at Happy Valley Live. This is a special edition of Obligatory. We're still going to do the Iowa show, which will be out later in the week. But this is the biggest news. Well, I was going to say it's the biggest news in the history of Penn State football, but there's probably one example that's an exception to that. So second biggest news in the history of Penn State football. All due respect to you, Landon Tengwall, the letterman, gracious enough to join us. I am going to defer to the wordsmith and seniority on the program. Kev, James Franklin, fired. Go.
Well, that's not a question.
Sure.
I'm torn up about it, right? I think you can probably see it in my face. And if you watch the podcast from the night of the game, it was the same kind of face. I don't like the celebratory mood that maybe Tengwall may have and others on the internet. I also feel some kind of relief about it. It's a complicated he's a complicated guy. It's a complicated decision, and we're in uncharted territory. In the sense of this is actually like in many ways, the first real coaching search in Penn State history.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be gym teachers, you know, would you want to be a football coach on the side and teach gym, and you go Bezdek and Joe Bedank. Well, oh, sure, that's fine. You know, Rip Angle was sort of a coaching search, but in a weird 1960s kind of way, 50s kind of way. And then Paterno, there wasn't a search for him. He was just the assistant. He took over. And then we had obviously two hires, 12 and 14 years ago. But we weren't in a position we are now.
In unique circumstances,
right.
Bill O'Brien and James.
Yeah, it's the first we're actually doing a coaching search for Penn State is a top 10 job. And you can quibble with me about that, maybe closer to 10, but a top 10 job. And it's a weird place to be. I feel every kind of emotion you can feel, right? This is the last coach of my undergraduate, there's been so many memories in 12 years, most of them bad, most of them sitting in stadiums against top 10 teams and just having your soul crushed. Yeah. The memories are not sitting there and beating up on bad Big Ten teams, which is where he made his bread and butter and where he made his hundreds of millions.
I'll never forget that homecoming win against UMass.
Right, already forgotten it. And all the big moments he failed, except for a few. But we have those few, and the paradox is that we were in the big moments because of him, but we also could never get it done in the big moments because of him.
Absolutely.
So
again, keep going back to it. Andy Reid in Philly.
And it's different. The NFL is the NFL. You're expected to, that's just whatever, churning through.
Right. Yeah.
This is a man who staked his first big job in college football here and came here when he didn't have to come here, when things were chaotic and crazy and stupid, and he did it anyway, and he built the infrastructure, kicking and screaming in some ways, and being an extremely annoying person in many ways. But he did it, and he set us up the infrastructure for the next coach. I don't like that we're a program that fires coaches mid-season, but I support the decision. It's such a weird place to be. How do you fire a guy who made the college football semis last year, right? Was a play away from playing for a national championship last year. 4 New Year's 6 wins, 2 playoff wins last year. Second most wins in program history. How do you fire a guy like that? Well, it's very obvious how you fire a guy. It's not the logic. makes sense almost nowhere else other than here, given how little goodwill he had built up from just failing in every single big moment.
You use the lose the UCLA and the Northwestern as your 20-point favorites in both of those, and that's how it happens. Look, it's a sad day. Obviously, it's sad. It's a big change. I think it's so hard to comprehend because coming into this year, no one could even begin to fathom that this would be where we are sitting in going into week 8 of the college football season. It's pretty crazy. But it's clear it was clear to me that the locker room no longer had faith in James Franklin, and James Franklin had quit on the team. I think that was very evident to me.
If you go back and you watch the show from last week and you listen to the podcast from last week, I thought it was obvious then. I choose my words carefully. I choose my positions carefully. And as I said on the last show that we shot before this one, Kevin and I have had our skulls caved in by a lot of long-time Franklin critics for sticking by him as long as we did. And I didn't call it until I thought it was time to call it. And I thought the fight was obviously over after UCLA. And the only thing left was the crying and the screaming. And it took one more week. And ironically, boys, this just blows my mind to the point where it makes me think we do live in a simulation. James Franklin's first and last losses at Penn State, homecoming versus Northwestern. That is wild.
And he couldn't get one more than Rip Angle.
So listen, I want to go back to you, Tengwall, but mail fraud's dying over here. He hates being on this set right now. I got to let you say something other than buy my book.
Well, I'm like Kevin, I don't believe in firing coaches anytime. I mean, everyone.
You are an old school, true blue Penn Stater, and it's why we love you, Mike.
Yeah, well, but to me, it's more. I mean, I know the fan base has a right to say what they have to say because they pay all the games and all. But I just don't like anyone being fired as a coach, no matter who it is, where it is. I think that sends a wrong message to the players that you have to win at all costs. But
can I play devil's advocate?
Yes.
This is a fundamentally competitive environment they're entering into. It's one that prepares you for life because it does teach you that competition and binary win or lose scenarios are a part of life. They're not all of life, but they're part of it. And it reaches a point where if you consistently fall short of reasonable standards of performance, sometimes there have to be consequences to that. Yeah, don't you agree with that?
I do, but I just don't. I think Penn State's never been known to fire any coach, and I feel.
Yeah, and that does bother me. It bothers me to the point Kevin made that we've gotten to that point.
Yeah, we have.
I will say, Mike, that if people kept bringing in packages and letters to your office and you kept sending them to the wrong places, you kept putting the wrong zip codes on them, eventually they were going to say, hey, maybe you're just going to be Mike, not Mike the Mailman.
That's true.
Anymore.
That's a good,
I'm just saying.
I think there is, to talk about the logistics of it, I feel bad for people. I feel bad you think about the Trace McSorleys, the Jordan Lucases, Ty Howell will be fine. But these guys that you're going to be the rest of the year, but you bring in a new head coach, and they bring in a new coaching staff. And all these guys have to move. They have to go home to their wives and say, hey, babe, you got to start packing up the house. You got to tell your kids. You're going to have to say goodbye to your friends. Yeah. Like, this is all real life shit.
Yeah.
So that is very, very sad. But that's also what you sign up for when you sign up for this. So it sucks.
So how did we get here? I want to turn back the clock and rewind all the way back, Kev, to all the hope in that press conference you covered in 2014, where despite all the turmoil around the program, despite the sudden departure of Bill O'Brien to the NFL, although we all kind of knew that was a possibility when he came here, really, Penn State was able to go out and get the hottest coaching candidate on the market. It was James Franklin, who had just worked miracles by winning 9 games in back-to-back seasons at Vanderbilt. And all that promise, and here we are today. How did we get here?
He kept his promise in that initial press conference to a large degree, right? Remember that press conference?
Yeah,
Pennsylvania boy with the Pennsylvania heart. We're gonna dominate the state. He really didn't. After Micah Parsons, he really keep true on that one. But nonetheless,
By the way, can I just point out that little sequence right here? That's the tenure of James Franklin in a nutshell. You were like, well, he lived up to all his promises in that press conference. And then you stopped and you thought, like, well, okay, except for a few.
It's a lot, things change.
Sort of the main things about having a Penn State heart and dominating the state. He didn't live up to those, but the rest of them.
He said he would go to if you have a kid who has a birthday party, I'll come and blow up balloons. Right?
He also didn't do that, but certainly some of the promises he kept. There's no question.
I didn't think me and Mike would be on the same side here.
I'm in the middle of the table. I got to play both sides, you know?
It's just historic moments, right? He came I don't think he would have came if Dave Joyner and Rodney Erickson didn't lie to him about how good things were, right? He would not have came, but he did. And he got us back to national prominence quicker than anyone could have ever imagined. And from that moment on, I think he became a different coach and a different person in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right? There was no longer, he became an egomaniac after that point. He wins a Big Ten championship and that's that. And then it becomes sort of a hostile relationship. Well, now he builds his expectations. You have Saquon Barkley coming back after you just won the Big Ten. And again, you're up 10 against Ohio State and you lose. And then that's been the story for the last decade. You're up against a quality team and you lose every single time. And
is the turning point surrendering the lead at Ohio State in 2017? If you had to pick one,
or 18, or 18. Those 2 years were I think his chance, right, to go 1 or 2 pass.
Now, to be fair,
there's been a lot of success from that period of time. There's the last couple of years have been successful. Let's not hide that.
No doubt.
But the point I wanted to make was, he became a different guy, and the relationship became more and more hostile, right? The losses were not, I'm going to make this better, I'm going to fix this. The losses were, well, the fans need to support us more. Eric Barron's not supporting us more. Sandy Barber's not supporting me enough. We need this facility. We need that facility. We need this gadget. We need this money for this guy, for this. And a lot of it was true. And he got us there. But it was delivered in a way that pissed everybody off. He became so unlikable during this period of time, responding to fans being upset that you can't win the big one ever. He became so unlikable during that time. And I think that lost him a lot of goodwill that could have saved him in this kind of moment that wasn't there because of that. Hostility is maybe too strong of a word, but at points it was hostile, especially during the COVID years when everyone's like, what the hell is this product? Well, it's your fault. We need a new Haluba Hall. We need a athlete-only dorm. We need to pay Denied Dennis Sutton to have his own room. We need all this stuff. He lost a lot of the base that would have otherwise been behind him for another down year without, I think, some of those comments and some of that posturing, which ironically got him the alignment to build it up how it needed to be. And then the alignment in the end put him out to pasture.
It's very ironic that 200 days, under 200 days from the alignment speech and James Franklin is gone. I think, you talk about the people not necessarily fully liking James Franklin. I mean, we can just speak freely. I mean, there's a multitude of things. It's not recognizing Joe Paterno and all that. That's a huge piece of it. It is, he was not in the community at all, really struggled with that, made close to $100 million and donated 15 grand total. He wasn't going to the birthday parties and blowing up the balloons. I mean, there was a point, and it probably was just about COVID, but I think the loss in 2017 may have turned it, but he clearly stopped liking it here. And that was evident. And I think that happened a long time ago, but it just continued to build. And that's where we're at now. And so I think, that he did not do a good job building up the goodwill in the community. Mainly, like I said, those two things, not being in the community at all and not recognizing the past of Penn State.
So I think we are going to have some time to really dig deep on the psychoanalysis of James Franklin on the Obligatory PSU podcast, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. I do want to say at least this. After that 2016 Ohio State game and the subsequent Big Ten championship, great moments, critical at that point in program history. I give the man his credit. Believed in Trace McSorley as a quarterback prospect when a lot of folks didn't. Swayed Saquon Barkley to come to the flagship institution of his home state, and he has been the ideal ambassador for Penn State football ever since. Yep. I think you don't get to the position James Franklin's in without believing in yourself. It's a profession of egomaniacs. So when he won that title, I'm sure he thought, this is it, we've arrived, this is it, we're going to go. And Penn State swung for the fences in national recruiting, and we weren't quite ready to swim in those waters, and we whiffed a lot. And I think the failures in subsequent years, the 2019 Minnesota game I would point to as another missed opportunity, another turning point in kind of cementing the narrative that got James to where we are today, was a result of maybe having to try to get the top talent and falling just short. And if I can give you guys two specific examples, recruits I think of as butterfly effect moments that got us to where we are today. Here, talking about James Franklin fired at Penn State, the first head coach, football coach in program history, fired for performance. Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, flips his commitment from Penn State to Clemson. I think it affects 2 college football national championships. I think probably Penn State is playing for a title, or at least in the 14 playoff in 16 or 17, and maybe Clemson is not. Maybe Clemson doesn't get that title. And Justin Fields, if he stays committed to Penn State, how different is the timeline?
He wins 1 or 2 of those 20-something top 10s that he's lost, and it's totally different. Just 1 or 2. Just 1 or 2. That's it.
We're not a demanding fan base for a top 15 fan base.
And that's a narrative I'll reject out of hand, which is like people are saying, "Oh, James is too good for this fan base. We're all a bunch of whiners and bitches." No. I mean, that's we almost no other serious program would have tolerated that many top losses. You know, Ryan Day won the national championship last year. He was getting death threats into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like I don't want to hear that about us.
Yeah.
But look. It's such a weird feeling being tugged in different directions. I'm sad and I'm relieved in a lot of ways.
That was the mood inside Beaver Stadium. We talked about it. It was eerie.
You could see it happening. You could see it happening. And when Northwestern needed a touchdown to win the game, and they're about to go on that drive, I don't think there was a soul in my section that thought that we were going to stop Northwestern, the mighty Wildcats. Not a soul. Because when has he ever done that when he needed to? Hardly ever. Hardly ever.
Landon, I'm going to let you take this whatever direction you want, but the one thing that distinguishes you from anyone on this program, including Noble, who distinguished himself in his playing career, but in an entirely different era, you were part of that locker room, you were recruited by James, you played for James.
James hates him more than us probably at this point.
Probably. It's a close competition, but that's probably right.
I appreciate you hard launching the unfollow last week. The block button might be coming next.
The block button is well on its way. Arkansas, Virginia Tech, wherever he's at next. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of film breakdowns coming on that one.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about that another time. But you were part of some big wins, and Rose Bowl 2022 probably one of the highlights of the Franklin era. Again, we keep doing this to you. I'm so sorry. That 9 overtime game, Illinois. Now, by the way, pushing farther and farther down the list in most embarrassing losses in program history. So
I know, I'm
great news
up.
for you.
Great news for you. Third now,
I might be third.
But you were part of the whole thing. Give us some insight. Again, just how in God's name did we get here?
Yeah.
Take it wherever you want to go, man.
I
in the moment.
Like I said, I think this is me 3 beers deep, 1 whiteout tequila shot as well. He just started to let it slip.
Let me stop you real quickly. That's the last free shout out, Mowdy. You want any more? Just saying. Go.
He just fitting.
That's fitting, yeah. Mike The Mailman's book down, yes. The pamphlet, as Kevin called it. He started,
buy Mike's book.
He started to just let it all slip, it felt like. Just slowly but surely. And you had these spikes. You had last year the college football playoffs, although I think many can agree you play Boise State and you play SMU. I mean, those are basically 2 group of 5 opponents, so that it was what it was. I don't know. There was once again, we're sitting here. I just mentioned how many beers. Like, there was a lack of respect for James Franklin. Let's just put it out there. Especially now after what he did. The players did not fully buy in by the end. I'll just be honest. And it's clear. You saw that. You saw that week 1 against Nevada. You saw it week 2 against FIU. You saw it against Villanova. It wasn't fully there. The leadership was not there. He doesn't rip into anybody anymore. Have you seen the clip of Saban where they're up like 54 points against some slack team, and he's like ripping into his like 3rd string safety for messing up? Like, you don't get that here. Like, you're not getting that. And I think he went a little almost too far with the family thing, which is great. And I meant a lot to me. Like,
Starts with I love you.
it always ends with I love you. Like for example, like Joe.
Never feel that
Joe,
again.
so Sarah, my fiance, she was born down in Texas because Kenny Jackson had just finished up playing for the Oilers, and Joe was already the coach here for the spring game, right? Kenny was already the wide receiver coach here. And Joe was like, no, you need to be here for the spring game. You're not going down there for the birth of Sarah. Like, James would never do that. He'd be like, go right now. You need to go see that. It was a different time. You know how that goes.
I think I'm on James's side on that, buddy.
Yeah. So, no, it's a different time. So, like, I give credit to James for, like, how he handled that family stuff, but it almost went too far. It was too fair. Like, it was too, I'm going to give Nick and Katron equal amount of series. Like, we're always going to give this guy this opportunity. And it started to become too much. And I think it just ran its course. Look, like, being somewhere 12 years is a long time. It was time to move on. And it all came to a head here. And, you know, how he felt about the fan base, obviously, as Kevin said, was very hostile.
At the end, it wasn't always that way. No. At the end, though.
And, you know,
at the end,
even the recruits, he's losing all these recruits. I mean, something is said about that. All these top recruits are decommitting or going somewhere else. I mean, they know. And so I think they know something. They knew something was up, and that's a sign that he was losing it when he was losing all these recruits.
I don't think you asked Landon the ultimate question, right? Which is how did we get here? I don't think anyone really truly knows.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of everything, but I don't think anyone really. I mean. That's why I feel bad for him, because how much is his control and how much is just the winds of fate? Yeah. You miss on 3 offensive coordinators in a row. Was that because they were clamped in James's program, or is that because they just sucked? Probably both. I don't know. You finally get a 5-star quarterback, and I don't want to kick a dead dog when he's down, but you miss on you're the best quarterback prospect you've ever had. You miss. How much of that was James not putting him in the right system? How much of that was it just Drew Aller stinks? Probably both. I don't know. How much do you attribute to everything?
2 5-star quarterbacks put in systems that don't fit them. Let's just put that out there. Hackenberg, I'm sorry to you as well, brother.
Again, to begin and end, right?
Yeah.
5-star quarterbacks losing at home to Northwestern on homecoming. We live in a simulation. And I had to check the quote to make sure I got it right. The cracks in the foundation have been there for folks who were willing to see them. I mean, Kev, we've been talking about this on this show and on the podcast for a long time, and just hoping against hope that there would be good things to offset them. But you ask, how did we get here? I think it's like Hemingway's definition of going broke. Gradually, then suddenly. So you could see it coming from a mile away, and it was still shocking the moment that it hit. And here we are.
15 days, Chris. 15 days ago, Penn State was in overtime against Oregon, a top 10 team. And if they get a 4th and 1 stop, who knows? It could be all. I mean, the cracks were still there. You're right. It would maybe be putting lipstick on a pig in some sense if you win that game. But
or could have spackled all of them over and been fine.
Yeah. Could have. And it's just those moments, the sample size in football is so small.
Yeah.
And those moments are so important.
I think they happened for a reason, though. The disengagement, the checked out nature you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's when you let that sloppiness creep in to the way you execute, to the way you prepare. I always kind of said, if you have to constantly remind everybody how detail-oriented you are, maybe you're not that detail-oriented.
Or maybe you forget to give the Northwestern, the scouting report and the, in the initial Monday presser. No.
Well, Leonard, I have right here 4 other times that happened in the last 12 years. That is not unprecedented. That is completely incorrect. Okay, so to wrap up this horrible nonsense, it's over. James Franklin era is over. We're in a new era of Penn State football. We're in a new era in the Nittany Valley where this is a place that fires the coach mid-season. And maybe in some ways, and this was inevitable, we as a program and the values that at least some of us hold dear were destined to become a victim of our own success because Joe took over the program in 1966 when college football was totally different and the expectations of being a top program were different and built us up into this point where we're playing with the big boys. And now we got to live in that world if we want to keep succeeding at that level. And the rules of that world say when it's time to move on, you cut the cord immediately so you can get ready for what's next. So as we wrap up here, we'll have plenty of time. And I promise you, we'll do as good a job as we're able, which is maybe a low bar. Talking about coaching candidates. I just want to hear from you guys, especially as we've kind of picked apart what went wrong here. What are you looking for in the next head coach of Penn State football? Because he's an unbelievably important hire now dropped in the lap of Patrick Kraft and the leaders of this university. Mike the Mailman, I am going to start with you. Give us some wisdom.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many candidates they will interview or how this process happens, but I would think the person who's going to get the job knows what he's getting into. I mean, they know that Penn State's very down now. The fan base is down. Everything about Penn State is down. But you still want to coach Penn State. I don't care who you are. I think you want to be a part of Penn State University.
Top 10 job.
No question.
And to James's credit, the fundamentals are strong.
And it seemed like lately the better coaches have been younger coaches. So I think they might look for younger.
So you're thinking, okay, that is going to be an interesting question to go to. Are you looking for a proven veteran, or you're looking for somebody who's young and hungry? You're young and hungry.
Young and hungry, yeah.
That's a good description of you in general.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The book is released, the best is yet to come.
Right.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
you,
you very
buddy.
much.
All right. Let me just answer my own question, because I'm going to defer to you guys who will probably have better answers than either of the folks on this side of the table. You talked about, he never went to birthday parties and blew up balloons. Nobody reasonably expected him to actually do that, but to figuratively be a part of the community and to embrace what it is to be coaching at Penn State and State College, it's a unique thing. There is no college town in the conference, and probably at any other top 15 university, that is close to what we have here. I mean, at one point, this school was founded on a wing and a dream in the middle of cornfields and cow pastures, and is called State College for a reason. And if you're somebody who wants a metropolitan environment, or likes to live in cities, or wants to be in the South or the Midwest or the West Coast, you're going to be miserable here, and it's ultimately going to affect your job performance. So some folks like college towns. I'm one of them. Some folks eventually, whether it takes a little time or not, feels the spirit of the place get its claws into them, and they stare wistfully at Mount Nittany from the practice field and say, God, I am in the best place on earth. And if you're not wired up to be that on some level, keep it moving. Yeah. So that's my requirement. All right, what do you guys got?
That's a good way to put it, Chris. I don't think James Franco ever went into a downtown business other than Starbucks every day. And that matters. That matters. That matters to me. And I think that impacts the way you feel about the place. You're exactly right. And he shouldn't have a culture where the starting quarterback thinks he needs to stay in the Lash building for 8 to 10 hours a day. That shouldn't be a thing. I guess the best way I can put it is I want a football guy, not a bullshitter. And I'm not saying James Franklin was fully a bullshitter and fully not a football guy. But that was his reputation even coming in. Yeah. That when we hired him.
I'm sorry, I tried so hard to keep a straight face. I'm sorry.
The knock on him when we hired him was like, this guy actually doesn't really know ball. He's just a bullshitter who's a great face and a great talker and a great recruiter.
Yeah.
And that ended up being, I think, true to some extent. Yeah. So go back to like some hard-nosed football guy like a Bill O'Brien or Paterno type character. We're not getting Nick Saban, producer Johnny, but someone who's an X's and O's guy and not a CEO type coach. I think we need that palate cleanse at the very least.
Yeah.
Maybe one coaching Indiana.
I want a guy who go ahead.
Before you give your answer, let me have you answer a question for me, and then you can give your thoughts. Since producer Johnny, thanks so much. He does an amazing job behind the camera. No way this show has lasted 10 seasons without Johnny Baker. Since he mentions Nick Saban, I do worry a little bit. Urban Meyer's name gets thrown out as well. Look, kick the tires. You're Penn State.
Well, John Gruden, that name's going to pop up.
Place a phone call.
Research.
I do worry about guys who got out of it before NIL and the transfer portal. Do you think, is that a deal breaker from your perspective if they don't have experience kind of swimming in the current waters?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, they got to want to swim in those waters. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a lot of people that don't want to. So I think that's tough. As Kevin said, I want a guy who I walk into his office, and this is how OB was, and he's got his feet up, and he's got the cowboy. The cowboy's the clicker that you use to watch film, and he's just rolling tape. James Franklin was a figurehead. He was a CEO to a degree. Yes, he did not know ball very much. Let's just call it what it is. Sorry.
He is not going to be in the running for a high-profile coordinator position anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
No. Unless you want your offense to go in the gutter. I think you want it's ideal. Curt Cignetti would be awesome. I don't know if he would leave Indiana right now. He is a Yinzer, Pittsburgh guy.
I'm going to write that guy a personal letter and tell him how well Italian Americans do at this place.
That's why I think he'd love it.
Curt, our people thrive here.
I will give you guys
for the record.
I will give you guys. And by the way, I think Happy Valley Live here has the new best Italian food in town.
Pat Romano.
Romano.
Listen, we love. If your name ends in a long vowel sound, you will kill it in the Nittany Valley. I'm just saying.
And I will give you. I saw a couple of my teammates. I had 3 guys on my high school team that went to JMU when Cignetti was there. So he was there all the time. I got to talk to him a bunch, and we would always crack jokes. Love him as a guy, but you could see like he's about ball. He's about ball, and he's a dude. Like he commands respect.
He's also a prick.
He's a prick. You need a prick, just like your quarterback needs to be a prick. Your head coach needs to be a prick.
You know who else was? Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a goddamn ball player and a coach.
Okay. This is where we go. Put a pin in it today, guys. I can't believe we got 6 more games to talk about.
With Ethan Grunkemeyer.
There were some interesting storylines. And listen, whether it gets worse before it gets better, which it probably will, or inexplicably the Mike the Mailman scenario plays out, we're 9-3. That's what you're going to predict.
Yeah.
Yes?
We have 7 more games then. We're 10-3 with the bowl game. Just telling you. You got to believe.
No matter what, we're going to be here for you. Thanks so much for being along for the journey. I will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. This university and this place has multiple times, including long before any of us was born, gone through worse and come out much worse and come out better on the other side. This is going to be fine. We can't wait to keep bringing it to you, and we are honored to do so. Buy Mike the Mailman's book.
He's a fraud.
That's true. For Kevin Horne, Landon Tengwall, in absentia Brandon Noble, Mike the Mailman, I'm Chris Buchignani, your fake host. As always, take care of yourselves and each other. We are.